It's going to be so great when Mashiach comes and Hashem's going to be so revealed and everybody's going to be able to see godliness, that even the wolf will lie with the lamb. Then why do we need a king? Why do we need Mashiach? What do we need a king for?
So that people will be able to relate to it in a form that they understand.
So that's as Mashiach as a king. But Mashiach, and I'm sorry, as a teacher, but Mashiach as a king, what we learned was not only that he gives us that we could understand, but he gives us that which transcends our understanding. He'll give us so much, he'll give us a godliness in such a great way that it'll actually transcend our understanding. And that's what a king does. A king gives in a way that's transcendent, in a way that goes beyond, because a king by definition is head and shoulders above the nation. And also even the way he gives is in the way of a decree. I'll give you in a few minutes, okay? I'll give you soon. They give you is in a way of a decree. That's how a king gives. So when Mashiach gives us a king, it means he'll give us a transcendent light, which is completely beyond our capabilities. And in a way, a makif and a transcendent experience. But what we explained as well is how do we prepare for that? We prepare for that by what we do in exile, what we do nowadays. And what do we do nowadays to prepare for that? We also serve Hashem in a way of Netzach, he said. Netzach is victory. Netzach is victory, right? We serve Hashem in a way of Netzach, which is that determination that we have to win at all costs, that we serve Hashem no matter what happens. The way he says Mesiras Nefesh, that there's no other option. There's no other option of serving Hashem, and even those he says that are very intellectual, very bright, they have to put their minds to the side and serve Hashem by following the Shulchan Aruch without deviating even iota. So when we serve Hashem that way, what are we doing? He says that this is connected to the essence of our soul, because Netzach, this determination is connected to the very essence of our soul, and therefore when we serve Hashem like that, what are we doing? That we prepare ourselves. Because we serve Hashem in a way that transcends intellect, because we're stubborn about our Judaism, when Mashiach comes, what will Mashiach reveal to us? Also a experience with Hashem which transcends our intellect. That was basically the mimer up until this point, is that we connect Hashem like a king, and therefore because we serve him in a transcendent way, and therefore the revelation that we get when Mashiach comes is also going to be transcendent. But now what the Rebbe is going to do is he's going to say how we prepare for the other aspect of Mashiach. Up until this point, he explained how we prepare for the transcendent experiences of Mashiach, which is because we serve Hashem stubbornly with Netzach, which is Mesiras Nefesh, which is beyond our intellect. But also, how do we prepare for the second aspect of Mashiach, which is as a Mashiach is as a Rav, as a teacher. Whereas he's a teacher, he comes down into our minds. He lowers it to our understanding, like somebody teaches children or something. The way that you teach is you can't do it like a decree. That's not the point of teaching. The point of the teaching is to understand where the kid's at and to give the teaching in the capabilities of the child. Mashiach is going to do the same thing with us, with Torah, with godliness. So how do we prepare for that today? Today, we don't serve Hashem with the same intellect, even close to what it was in the times of the Beis Hamikdash. How much more so the way it's going to be Mashiach comes? So how do we prepare for that revelation of Mashiach by what we do today? And that's the next part of the Maimer, going to discuss this concept of how we also are serving Hashem in a sense better, in a internal way, in an understanding way. Guys, a little bit quieter, okay? An understanding way, an internal way, a little better, even better in a sense in the times based in English, and because of that, we prepare ourselves for the coming of Mashiach. So what is he going to explain? He's first going to talk about the idea of exile in general, and Mashiach's coming is what's called in the Hasidic terminology a Yerida Tzorech Aliyah. Yerida Tzorech Aliyah. Yerida Tzorech Aliyah means a descent for an ascent. You go down in order to go up. So for instance, okay, I think I should move somewhere else. Question is where? a descent in order to ascend. That's to go down in order to go up. Where do you find this? If you want to jump over something, for instance, what do? You'll first run back, right? Give yourself momentum and then run forward to go up. So the running back is real is you're going away from your target, you're going away from what you want to do, but yet at the same time, it's only for the purpose of jumping further, of jumping higher. Or you want to chop down a tree, right? So you take the axe and you swing it backwards before you swing it forwards. So you're going down in a sense, or even by jumping, or you bend your knees, you lower yourself in order for what? In order to jump higher. That's the concept in Chassidus called Yidat Tzerech Aliyah, that going down in order to go up. And it explains that our neshama, our soul, start out in heaven, and it comes down into this world, but for what purpose? In order to go higher in heaven. Our soul comes onto the world and experiences this world, this world, the worldly challenges and everything like that. But what's the purpose of it all? Is in order to go higher than it was before. Yerida Tzerech Aliyah, it goes down in order to go up higher. And the same thing he's going to explain is with exile. Going into exile has that same idea. It's going down. We're going into a worse condition than we were when the times of Beis Hamikdash were, as we explained already at length, that we don't understand Hashem as much. We can't see Hashem. We don't have the same love for Hashem. We don't have the same bittul and selflessness to Hashem. All of that. All that we're missing in the time of exile, but yet the purpose of exile is not to go down. It's actually to go up higher. Every time, that would explain about every time anybody goes down, it's for the same purpose. So Adam eating from the forbidden fruit, we end up coming higher out of it than we went into it. The destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, anytime that we sin, is the same idea. It's going down, but the ultimate purpose of sin, so to speak, is that we should come out of it greater than we went into it. By doing tshuva, by repenting, we go higher than we were when we first went in. And that's the concept of Yerida Tzerech Aliyah, that you go down, but the purpose of going down is in order to go even higher, even greater. And that's the way he says, and based on this, he's going to explain later on in the Maimer that because we serve Hashem at the same way, if you read the Tzerech Aliyah, we go down into exile in order to go higher, it doesn't just enhance our transcendent capabilities, our capabilities which are beyond reason, which is what we said in the first part of the Maimer, but it also enhances our internal qualities, our wisdom, our understanding, our love of Hashem, and all that gets also an upgrade because of Yerida Tzerech Aliyah. By coming down, it ends up going higher, and that's what enables us to later on experience a higher revelation of Mashiach, even not just as a king, but also as a teacher. I hope I'm clear with what I'm saying here. All right. You hear me? So let's continue. Umamshich ba'maimer. So the Frierdiker Rebbe continues in the Maimer that he said, the biur davar zeh, the explanation of this thing. The fact that what happens when Mashiach comes, it comes out through specifically what we do in the times of exile. What me and you do today is what prepares us and what brings about the revelation that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Yuvan me'inyan yiridas haneshama lamata. So the Rebbe says in the Maimer there that we'll understand it based on the neshama coming down below, our soul, the way it comes down into this world. That's the way we'll understand what happens when Mashiach comes. Shehayirida hilatzerech aliyah. Our neshama coming down into this world is in order to go up even higher. Demizem, move on. From here we understand. Also, when we go down into exile, which we're also lowering ourselves in many ways. As we said before, we can't see Hashem, we can't understand Hashem, and all these things. This going down is l'tzerech aliyah, in order to go up. The going down into exile is to go up even higher. In other words, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, so we come back even better and stronger. Then the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and we left Eretz Yisrael and everything. Why? In order we should come back a third time, even greater and even stronger with the coming of Mashiach. So it's a Yerid that's going down, but the ultimate purpose of it all is to go up even higher. Specifically through the service of Hashem that we do in the time of exile, that will bring about the revelation of when Mashiach comes. Should be even a greater revelation of godliness than there was in the times of the Beis Hamikdash. By what we do when we go lower in the times of exile is going to bring about the revelation of Mashiach, which is going to be even higher than what we experienced at the times of the Beis Hamikdash. And the Rebbe is now going to say that this explanation of Yerida Tzedach Aliyah, that when we go down into exile, it's in order to go back even greater, explains also how we're going to upgrade our experience as a Rav, why Mashiach, why we prepare ourselves for Mashiach to be not just a king, but also a teacher. That our internal capabilities, our mental capacities, our emotional capacity will be upgraded, will be better. Why? Because of how we prepare today in exile, we'll be able to have a relevant experience of Hashem when Mashiach comes in even greater way than today because of what we're doing now. And he says like this: the additional explanation of what the Frierdiker Rebbe is doing in his Maimer, that the reason that we come down into exile is from the outset, from the very beginning, in order that we go higher. It's in order to explain the reason, that even this concept, this idea, that Mashiach is going to reveal to us as a teacher, meaning that which he's going to explain to us and reveal to us in a way that we could understand, in a way that we can see it, as opposed to as a king which is transcendent. We will be able to comprehend it. But Dafkai, the Avedis Managal, said also comes through what we do in the time of exile. Even though that what we understand today, and that which we could, and especially seeing, which we can't do at all today, as we explained before in the Maimer, that was specifically in the times of Beis Hamikdash Canal, as we mentioned before. Even though that these ideas of understanding Hashem properly, and especially seeing Hashem, only was in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, but yet what we do today still prepares us for what we're going to do, what's going to happen. Mashiach comes, and we're going to have an upgrade in understanding and in seeing Hashem when Mashiach comes. How is that? All based on this concept of Yerida Tzedach Aliyah, that we're going down in order to go higher. And this is what he explains. Okay, so a little bit of a introduction to the next part. Where does this begin? Where does going down start from? Where does the Yerida begin? In the whole creation, whole everything. What's the first going down is what's called the Tzimtzum. That Tzimtzum in Kabbalah and Hasidus is, you might call it a contraction of the light or a diminishing of the light. And whenever light gets diminished, we call it a Tzimtzum. But there's various different ways that you can diminish light. And over here, of course, we're not just talking about physical light, we're talking about godly energy. We're talking about Hashem's light that creates us, that makes everything happen. Everything that exists is all from Hashem's light. But in order for it to come down to our world, in order to come down into creation or into anything for that matter, it had to become lessened. In order to benefit from anything, most things you can't benefit at its raw state, right? How many things in the world? The sun, for instance. If you're right next to the sun, you can't benefit from it. In order to benefit from it, we need an atmosphere. We need so many things in order to be able to benefit from the sun. That should be the right heat, the right amount of light. It shouldn't be too bright. It shouldn't be too little. It shouldn't be too hot. It shouldn't be too cold. There's so much tzimtzum. You have to diminish the sunlight so much in order that it should be useful and usable by us. A nuclear plant is the same idea. Nuclear power is incredibly strong. You can power who knows how much with nuclear power. But of course, if you just take raw nuclear power straight from the plant and you use it straight in your house, you're just going to burn everything down. What you have to do is you have to channel it, and I'm not sure how it works. I'm not any nuclear scientist or anything, but whatever. Right? But the idea is that you have to take that raw power and you have to lessen it and channel it until it becomes 210 volt or whatever we are, right? To be able to go 100 and whatever it goes to go into your outlet in order to be useful. That shouldn't burn every appliance that you have in your house. The same thing as your water faucet, right? If you could take straight from the reservoir, you're not going to be able to get anything. You have to go through pipes and larger pipes and smaller pipes until you're able to get to the pipe that's small enough to be useful in your house. That shouldn't just flood everything in sight. The same thing is with Hashem's light. If Hashem's light comes out in the raw state, you can't have any existence. It will be too powerful. Nothing could exist in such a bright light. So in order for me and you to exist, or not only me and you, but even the highest levels of creation, and even beyond the highest levels of God's emanation, what it's called, Atzilus, in order for any of that to even exist, the first step you have to do is you have to conceal the light. You have to diminish the light. You have to lessen it in order that it can come into a level of Hashem's wisdom, Hashem's emotions. All of that has to be finite, has to be limited, has to be you have to limit the light, and in order to do that, you have to have tzimtzum. Tzimtzum is that what Hashem does in order to, again, to minimize, to lessen, and to contract the light to become smaller and useful. But even in tzimtzum, you have various different ways. So just a few examples of different types of tzimtzum. If you put a curtain, if you put a window in your house, right? So the sunlight coming through a window is already a tzimtzum. You're not affecting the light itself, but you're lessening the light. Now, not as much light is coming into your house. The smaller the window, the less light's coming in. Now, if you put a curtain in front of that window, you got even less light. Or you put a stained glass window, for instance. Now you're already changing the light to you bring out the colors in the light. Now all of a sudden you got red light and blue light and green lights, even though the light itself doesn't really change. But on the other side of the window, you're going to have different color lights. And then you put a curtain in front of that, you diminish it even more. And each one of these things in Chassidus is different levels of tzimtzum. But then there's the first tzimtzum, the original tzimtzum, the original contraction of light, the tzimtzum harishain. And the tzimtzum harishain is different than all other tzimtzum, in the sense that it's not diminishing the light, but it removes the light. It doesn't just lessen the light, it actually removes the light completely. And the example given for this is when you have a teacher who's infinitely greater than the student, right? So possibly as an example, you have Einstein walking into a 5-year-old classroom, right? A kindergarten classroom, and he wants to explain something to these kindergartners. Well, Einstein is way too bright to explain anything to a kindergartner. What does he have to do? So in Chassidus says the first thing that a teacher will have to do, if you're talking about somebody's infinitely greater than the student, is he has to stop thinking. He has to take everything that he knows and remove it to the side. He has to put it on the side. He has to put it, what we call in English, in the back of his mind. Because if he just goes with what he knows, it's going to be way too overwhelming for the kids. If Einstein walks into that classroom and just starts saying what he knows, even if he tries to lower it as much as he can to the level of a student, it's going to be too much. It's going to be over their heads. So the first thing he has to do is he has to stop. He has to remove all of what he knows, all the information that he has in his mind. He has to put it to the back of his mind. Then he has to put himself in the child's shoes, so to speak. Okay, what does this child know? What does he understand? And then go back to what he knows and take out a little bit, what they call a thin line, just a little bit of what he knows, and give that to the child. So tzimtzum harishain means not just you're lessening the light, diminishing the light, contracting the light, you're actually removing the light completely. What the Arizal says, that when the world was first when everything first existed, when it was only Hashem, his light filled everything. He removed his light. He made this big empty circle, and in the middle it made a vacuum without any light in it. And then he drew in a little line, a kav, a very thin line of his light. He drew into that empty circle. And what he's describing is this tzimtzum harishain, this original contraction, this original tzimtzum, which is not contraction, it's removing the light. So again, what did he do? He first removes his light completely. He have an empty circle, and in that circle he draws in a little bit of light. That's what tzimtzum harishain is called, the original tzimtzum. It's not diminishing, it's actually removing the light and then bringing in a little bit of the light back into what's left in that empty circle. Is that clear? Everybody's on mute, so
Think so.
Think so?
It's clear.
All right. So what's the next part of here? Now here comes the discussion that he talks about in this Maimer. When Hashem removed his light and he made this empty circle and out, so basically what do you have? You can just picture it. You have a circle, inside is nothing, is empty. is a vacuum, and outside now is all of it. God's light is on the outside of this thing, and you have this big eagle agadol, this large circle. So what did the tzimtzum now affect? Is what the Rebbe discusses here. What did the tzimtzum change? And what the Rebbe is going to say is that tzimtzum changed two things. When Hashem removes his light and leaves this empty circle, he changes two things. Number one, he changes the light that's outside the circle. And number two, he changed the light which is inside the circle. You have the light of Hashem which came down into the circle, and then you have the light of Hashem that remained outside the circle. Both of those lights, so to speak, have changed because of the tzimtzum. Let's break this down. Now, the light inside the tzimtzum we can understand. The light that comes back down into the circle is a whole different light. It's limited, it's finite, it's on the level of creation almost. It's relatable to creation, something which the light before the tzimtzum the light before the tzimtzum was totally beyond creation. And all of a sudden you have this little light coming into creation. It definitely changed. That light changed drastically from the way it was before the circle to the way it was before the tzimtzum to after the tzimtzum. That's pretty clear. But the question is, how does the light that's outside the circle change? Isn't it the same light? Before it was everywhere. Now there's just an empty circle in the middle of it, right? So what changed with the light outside the circle? And what the Rebbe is going to say is that the light outside the circle changed in the sense that it stopped shining. Not that it was affected directly, not that the light itself was changed, but what it does change. Before it shined, before it was shining, it was coming out, so to speak, and going everywhere. And now what did he do is when Hashem contracted the light, he brought it back into himself, so it stopped shining. So it didn't really change for itself. Really, the light remains the same. It's the same light that was before the tzimtzum, the same light after the tzimtzum. But the difference is that now it no longer shines. So as an example of that is, if you cover, a cloudy day, where all of a sudden you covered the sun and the sun's not shining. The sun didn't change. The sun is still shining the same way. But what changed was that the light does not now come to the other side of that curtain, the other side of that window, the other side of that of those clouds. So what changed is not the light essentially, but what changes is that no longer does the light shine. That's one idea that he's going to explain here is, again, how the light, when the tzimtzum happened and Hashem removed the light and brought in this little thin light, there's two different changes that happened. There's a change that happened in the light itself that came down into the empty circle, and then there's a light that was beyond the circle that also changed, not because it itself changed, but because it can no longer shine. That's one thing. And one more point, he's going to say that even in the light that comes down into the circle, there's actually three stages. I'll do this quickly because we're kind of running out of time, and then God willing, next when we learn on Thursday morning, we'll be able to go a little bit more into it. But the light essentially changes in three ways. Number one is that it's no longer as unlimited as before. Before it was infinite, like the light before creation. Now it's already a finite light. Number two, the light that comes down into the circle becomes, what's the second thing he says? It acquires 10 sfirot. It acquires differences. Now it's not a simple light anymore. Now it's already a defined light. It's already a light that has components, that already has attributes and stuff like that. And the third thing is that it comes down into a vessel. And when that light comes down into a vessel, that's the most drastic change for the light, because then it becomes limited and it becomes affected by the vessel. So we're going to do that, like I said, on Thursday, got a little more. Let's do a little bit inside just to get it going. And then Thursday we'll continue this paragraph. So middle of Dalit, I have it pointed right here. And let's begin. Actually, sorry, Dalit, I'm sorry. Let's begin. We're holding Uviyuvan Zeh. So go a little bit inside, and then again, like we said, we'll continue on Thursday, God willing. The way we will understand the impact that we have in the time of exile on the revelation that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. That not only are we going to be upgraded in the sense that we have a transcendent revelation of godliness, we're also going to be able to have a better understanding of godliness and be able to see Him better than it was before. How do we prepare for that? In the time of exile, we'll be able to understand that through not just the neshama coming down into the body, but in the whole idea of the yerida, of the coming down in order to create. So not only did my soul come down in order to create, to be coming down into my body, but light of Hashem had to come down, yerida had to come down in order to create as well. And when we understand the yerida of the going down of the original creation and how that leads to greater heights, through that we have to understand how we also will attain greater heights. The very beginning of the coming down, the very first going down, lower, coming down to lower level, right? Whereas that first thing was, and the tzimtzum rishon, that original tzimtzum and that first contraction, like we said before, not just the contraction of light, but the total removal of the light. For Yedua, it's unknown, the pu'ulas tzimtzum he hein ba'id in seifa bligvul, ve'hein ba'ar shebchinas gvul. That the effect of the tzimtzum was both on the infinite light, which was before the tzimtzum, and as well as the infinite light, the finite light, which comes down through the tzimtzum. That the tzimtzum had a double effect. It affected the light, which is the infinite light, and it also affected the limited light, the finite light, which comes down in order to light, shine the world, to create the world. What does that mean? The effect that the tzimtzum had on the infinite light is that it was hidden and it went back into its source. And it doesn't shine in the empty space. Hainu, that means the tzimtzum, that what the tzimtzum affected the light, it's not in the light itself, but it's in the way it expresses itself. So as an example, when Einstein removes the thought from his brain, right, in order to teach that kindergarten child, so did his understanding of things change? No, he understands things just as well, except at this moment, what is he actively thinking about is what the child and not what he knows. So it didn't disappear. It's not gone. It's not there anymore. And not only that, he doesn't understand any less because he removed that thought. It's not like he's any dumber because he removed it. He just put it on the side, and later he can go right back into it. But what changed? What changed is that now it's not coming out. It's not revealing. It's not in a revealing sense. It's back in its source. It's hidden back in its source. Almost like when we're sleeping, where our minds are still functioning, but now it's not revealed. It's hidden. It's back in the source of it, which is our essence of our soul. So it's not gone, but it's not revealing itself. So could you say that our intellect has essentially changed when we're sleeping? No, but it's not producing. It's not functioning as it would when we're during the day. So that our intellect itself didn't change, right? Because it's still there. But the effect, what changed is the pu'ulas hatzimtzum, the effect that it's having, what it's doing. And the same thing is with the light, which is before the tzimtzum. We're going to stop here. It continues going on. Again, the difference that's going to happen in the light. Actually, one more point. And he says, what's the reason for this? What is the reason that there is an effect on the light, which the infinite light, which it can no longer shine, it does no longer shines anymore. Because this light is beyond worlds, it's infinite, it's beyond the worlds completely. So the tzimtzum has no ability, has no power over it to lessen it, to limit it. So the only thing it can do, all it can do with this light is not allow it to shine. It's not strong. The tzimtzum can't affect this infinite light. It's beyond creation. So it can't stop it. It can't change it. It can't affect it. But what it could do is it could not allow it to shine through the tzimtzum. So again, what's the difference in the infinite light is not in the infinite light itself. It's just in where it comes, where it goes. That no longer is it shining and coming outward and and coming out, now it's just it gets removed and gets included back in its source, gets hidden back in its source. All right, so we'll continue, like I said, God willing, on Thursday. If you have any questions, you may ask. Any questions?
Nope, it's very clear.
Okay, so in Mirz Hashem, tomorrow night, tonight and tomorrow is my birthday. So I want to invite everybody here. We're going to have a Farbrengen. For the East Coasters, it's probably going to be a little late for you guys. I think it's started at 8 or 8:30 tomorrow night. I got to get knocked out of time. I'm going to put it onto the group, the Chabad Phoenix group. Also put it on email, God willing, and with a little bit more of the details, and the same idea with the Zoom. So I want to invite you all to join me in my birthday Farbrengen. Usually we have it in my house, everybody joins, but this time we'll do it a little bit differently on Zoom. And again, I hope everybody could join us tomorrow night, Be'ezras Hashem, God willing, tomorrow night at about 8 or 8:30. We'll start the Farbrengen.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. All right, very well. So we'll meet up back on Thursday.
Yep.
Be'ezras Hashem.
Okay, have a good day, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.